Andre Miller, and this is Charles Clinton.
Thank you.
And this is our first edition of the show entitled Opinions Are Like.
Basically, the show works like this. We give our opinions, and then you give us yours. And we make another show showcasing those opinions.
And in each show, we're going to be bringing you our top 5 choices in categories such as movies, pop culture, and especially sports. So we're going to kind of start off by congratulating the teams that made their respective bowls, especially Notre Dame.
And especially Michigan. Go Blue.
The Wolverines.
Wolverines. Nice. Nice.
Now, Charles, what do you think about the national championship? Who do you think is going to win that game?
Well, I think Alabama's going to win that game. I think the Elephants are going to run over the Fighting Leprechauns.
Fighting Leprechauns. Okay, that's a... Go ahead.
I think that Alabama just simply scores too many points for Notre Dame's defense to be able to contain them. Even though Notre Dame does have a very good defense, their offense just plain and simply doesn't score enough points to keep up with Bama.
Defense wins national championships.
Yes, but
I
offense
differ on everything that you said. For one thing, Alabama has a power running game.
Yes, they do.
But Notre Dame stops runners. They stop power runners, especially. Did you see the Stanford Notre Dame game?
Yes, I did see that big goal line stand. I do remember that.
Throughout the whole game, they were stopping Stanford's run.
Yes.
They kind of forced the pass, and that's what they're going to do with Alabama.
Yeah, but Stanford is a team that can't throw the ball at all. So
that sounds like Alabama.
No, but Alabama's been shown that they can throw the ball.
They can throw
the SEC, you have to be able to throw the ball because every team has a great run defense. Almost every team.
Not every team.
Not every team, but a lot of the teams.
The SEC is top heavy.
Yes.
You have maybe 3 or 4 SEC teams that are kind of good. And they're usually
like Georgia, Florida. Those teams do have good run defenses, though.
LSU, Alabama, Georgia, kind of have good running defense.
So, and they were able to throw the football against them. They've been able to come back against. They were able to come back against Georgia when Georgia was winning.
Georgia should have won that game. So should have LSU beaten Alabama as well.
Yes.
Now, the thing you don't understand about Notre Dame also is they have Everett Golson, quarterback, who can scramble. He can create plays. And that's something that Alabama's defense didn't really have to worry about throughout the whole season, except with Texas A&M and what happened there.
Yes, Johnny Football did a good job. But Everett Golson is nowhere near as good as Johnny Football.
He may not. He doesn't have the. Well, I'm not gonna say because Johnny Football was a freshman, but you're right. But he's getting there. Each game that he plays, he's getting better and better and better. He's getting more confidence. So we're gonna see what happens. I guarantee you, though, they won't lose by 10 points. Notre Dame won.
I never said that they would, but I think that
people are thinking that.
Yeah, I think that it'll probably be a 6-7 point game. I think that Alabama will win by at least a touchdown.
Okay. Well, as we said, the name of the show is Opinions Are Like. And this is what we do. We banter about our opinions. So now we're going to go into our top 5 all-time football films. Okay? Now, I'm going to start this with my honorable mention films first. First honorable mention film, The Best of Times, starring Robin Williams and Kurt Russell. Now, this film deals with, they look back to high school. Robin Williams dropped a key pass to win the game. Which was just kind of affected his life negatively. So at the end of the movie, he gains retribution. He actually catches the pass to win the game. It was a game with the same team that they had played before. So he got a little bit of retribution. Very funny movie, though. Very funny. Second one, Rudy. Everybody knows Rudy. This is a great movie.
Yes, it would be Notre Dame fan than you.
Aren't you surprised that wasn't my number 1 movie? Right?
No, I'm not surprised. It wasn't.
It was a feel-good movie based on a true story. I love Notre Dame. I love the Rudy movie, but I just didn't feel that it was good enough to make my top 5. But I did. I appreciated it for everything.
Well, my problem with the movie is that it's taking a story that's a lot more common than people realize and making a big deal out of it.
Well, yeah, but it's Notre Dame. What do you expect?
Yeah, but Michigan almost every year there's a walk-on who's a starter at U of M, and U of M has been one of the greatest programs in history.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Would people go out to see a Michigan movie or a Notre Dame movie?
I wouldn't be surprised if they did.
Well, they did have pretty good actors on that movie too. But my last one, Friday Night Lights. Billy Bob Thornton, Lucas Black. It's a very gritty high school movie. Trials and tribulations. I loved it, but it didn't make my top 5 either.
I did make mine, but...
What are your honorable mentions?
My honorable mentions are The Waterboy with Adam Sandler.
Great movie.
Very funny movie. Also, in a way, also very heartfelt as well. I thought that it was a good way that they introduced how he's struggled his whole life. And also, I always remember the scene where he has to take the competence exam, and they... Like, after he passes, the quarterback for the team says, "You were the only guy who could have passed that test."
Right.
And plus, I just like the fact that it's a very funny movie. It's probably one of my favorite Adam Sandler films. And it's not bad for a football movie either.
Okay, all right. You can go on with your...
All right. Also, another honorable mention is Little Giants, a nice little family film with Rick Moranis. Thought it was... I remember watching that movie when I was a kid on television and thought it was an interesting underdog story. Also, kind of cute to see a girl playing football as well.
Aren't you still a kid right now? You look 15.
Aren't you a bit old to be talking about issues like that?
Let's see how old I am when I say my top 5.
Oh, I'm sure I will.
So let's move on. I'm going to start the top 5. And my first top 5 movie is Everybody's All-American, starring Dennis Quaid, Jessica Lange, John Goodman, and Timothy Hutton. Now, right there, that's a great cast right there.
Yes.
And the movie is about a guy that he plays for LSU. His name is the Gray Ghost. It's just a great name. And he's a star. He's a star at LSU. He does everything well. Everybody loves him. Okay, he gets into the pros and things change for him. Okay, he's not as popular as he once was. So people treat him a little bit differently than they did in college. And basically, everything goes down from there. He ends up marrying his college sweetheart, which is Jessica Lange. And, they get married during his pro career, but they start having, marriage difficulties and everything. And things just don't work out that well in the end. But it was a great movie because of the cast and the acting. And the football was great, too. So that's my top 5.
So it's basically the guys like LSU Tim Tebow?
Not that bad. Go ahead with your top 5.
Oh, yeah. My
movie.
top 5 starts out with The Replacements, starring Keanu Reeves and Gene Hackman. Gene Hackman plays a football coach at the NFL who's dealing with a player strike and winds up hiring Keanu Reeves, who's this stoner on a boat, as a quarterback. And Hackman plays this he's like this patrician, old school coach who just wants to coach football. He doesn't want to have to deal with all these player issues that he's had to deal with in recent years. And he plays it just beautifully. In fact, one of the reasons why this movie isn't higher is because it doesn't focus as much on his performance. It focuses more on some of the replacement players who are hired to replace the guys who are striking. But it's a very good movie. Got some really interesting football action, including a scene where basically you have a Lucy kick.
Okay, I remember that.
Which is absolutely hilarious and very interesting and very well shot.
Okay, I agree with you on some things, but it didn't make none of my list. I'm sorry. It was a good movie, but it wasn't enough. Gene Hackman definitely did not hold it up because they didn't have enough of it. But it was a decent movie.
If they had added more Gene Hackman, it would be higher.
All right, let me go with my number 4 movie, Any Given Sunday, starring Al Pacino, Jamie Foxx. Great movie.
Classic.
Great movie. Very classic movie. The only reason I guess I gave it a 4 was because there were movies before Any Given Sunday that kind of dealt with some of the issues that were going on Any Given Sunday. So that's why it's number 4. But I love the movie. I think it was Jamie Foxx's coming out party because he had made other movies before that.
He made the TV show. He was known for comedy.
He was known for comedy, and he wasn't known as an actor. And the movies that he was in, they weren't good. They were kind of lollipop movies.
Yeah.
So he did a good job. And of course, Al Pacino, he stands alone as
the chemistry between him and Fox is amazing.
Oh yes, I agree. What was your number 4 movie?
My number 4 movie was Varsity Blues with John Voight and James Vanderbeek. Now, James Vanderbeek does a very good job playing kind of the opposite of the teen idol that he's been typecast as over the years. He plays a guy who wants to go to Brown. He's a very intellectual guy. He's a guy who doesn't want to be necessarily a stereotypical jock. He's very headstrong, and he butts heads with John Voight's football coach often. And that becomes like the whole point of the movie is, can they win without a coach?
Okay.
And like it's a movie. It's almost like Mutiny on the Bounty with football.
Okay.
In a lot of ways.
Now you see we're veering in 2 different directions because your movies aren't that great.
Well, we're
Not
veering
top
in 2
5
different.
worthy.
No, we're veering in 2 different directions because your movies are older, mine are more recent.
Hey, my movies stand the test of time though, and that's my number 3 movie. With that being said, is North Dallas 40. This movie was made in 1979, starring Nick Nolte and Mac Davis. Mac Davis, by the way, was a country singer. Back in the day, for you youngsters that don't know. but anyway, this movie was based on a novel by Peter Gint. Peter Gint was a professional football player that played for the Cowboys in the late 60s. So he wrote this movie because he dealt with this situation. And this movie deals with taking painkillers, partying, the football players partying real hard. It just dealt with certain issues. It also dealt with a coach who didn't care what you do off the field as long as you produced on the field.
Kind of like Al Davis.
Sort of like Al Davis, but this movie was based on the Cowboys, Tom Landry,
Yeah.
So it was a great movie, and it was in the 70s, so that's the first time that I had saw a taste of what the NFL was about. Now, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is Friday Night Lights, a movie that you put in your honorable mentions. Now this movie is about the true story of the Odessa Perriman Panthers, and it's about the year before they won the Texas State Championship. And it's got Billy Bob Thornton as the head coach, Derek Luke as the star player. It's also got Jordan Lucas, not Jordan Lucas. Lucas Black, my bad, as the quarterback, and Tim McGraw, another country singer, as an abusive father.
Up to date, modern day singer. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I thought that this movie was a very good high school football movie, very dark, and it's also a surprise ending because the whole movie seems to be building up to them winning a championship, and then they get stopped at the goal line. Sorry for all the spoilers out there, but it was a very good movie. It's got a lot of interesting twists, like the coin flip at the restaurant, and it's just they like the movie. Like, I like the movie a lot because it just seems it seems inspirational without being corny.
Okay, I understand that. That's a good movie. Now, my number 2 pick was the Denzel Washington movie, Remember the Titans. Excellent movie, very inspirational. This movie was back in the 60s when racism
1971,
ran
actually.
1971, I'm sorry. And it's a great movie because you can see the camaraderie amongst the team. At first, they didn't like each other. As a black versus white, but once they started practicing and getting to know each other, they loved each other, and they played that way on the gridiron, on the field. It was a great movie, and Denzel, he can play any role and make you feel the role that he's playing. That's why it was number 2 to me. I just loved everything about this movie.
This is also my number 2 as well. Okay. Denzel plays basically a black Bear Bryant in this movie. And apparently that was true to life. Herbert Boone in real life was very similar to Bear Bryant in his philosophy about football and about life and all those things. Will Patton plays the coach who he is replacing, but stays on as the defensive coordinator because he knows he has talent to win state championship.
Right.
And Will Patton gives a very good performance, and that showcases him as a very underrated actor.
Yes.
It also gave a lot of other younger actors, such as Donald Faison or Ryan Gosling, their first major roles.
Great point.
And
Wood Harris actually is in that.
Wood Harris,
yeah,
he was
good movie.
well too.
Based on a true story too. Now, my number 1 movie is The Longest Yard, the original Longest Yard. 1974 is when it came out. Burt Reynolds, Eddie Albert, Michael Conrad. Eddie Albert was the Green Acre guy for all you young heads. Great movie again. This was when Burt Reynolds was coming into his own as a box office success.
Yes, he was Mr.
Everybody loved
Blockbuster.
him. Yes, yes. Now the movie is about he was a quarterback that was point shaving, so he got kicked out of the NFL. He went to prison because he stole his girlfriend's car at the time, a very expensive car. So he had to do 18 months. He gets into prison. The Eddie Albert's character, he has a football team, a semi-pro football team, and he wanted Burt Reynolds' character to coach the team. Burt Reynolds didn't want to do that, so they put him through a whole lot of grief, and he decided, okay, I'm going to help you guys, but I think we should have an exhibition game. So it's basically the prisoners against this semi-pro team, which were all guards that worked at the prison. And you can just imagine what happens, through all of this. They had certain characters that were great. That's why I liked it. They had Richard Kiel, who is, by the way, in the James Bond movie.
Played Jaws, yeah. He was also in Happy Gilmore.
Yes, he's great. So, I mean, it's just a whole bunch of things take place, but I think Burt Reynolds had that star power to make everything work. And I love this movie. I thought it was different. You're not going to see that type of movie dealing with prison like that, So there's a whole bunch of things about this movie that I liked.
I put The Longest Yard on my honorable mentions list because I felt that it wasn't as much of a movie about football as it was a movie about prison. I read a book when I was in college about Marquette Prison, written by the former recreation director there.
Okay.
And he said that when he saw the movie, all the characters except for Burt Reynolds' character reminded him of people he knew inside the prison.
See, he deals with.
So it was more. So he said that, and that to me tells me that the movie was more about prison than it was about football.
There was plenty of football.
Yes,
so go ahead.
My number one movie is Any Given Sunday, which you already mentioned. Great movie. One thing you didn't mention was was Lawrence Taylor and Jim Brown in that film. Two real-life football players who had roles in that movie. Right. Jim Brown played the defensive coordinator. Great actor. Also has some great chemistry with Al Pacino in that scene in the bar where they're talking about how football has changed.
Oh yeah, Jim Brown.
And Lawrence Taylor as an aging defensive captain on the team who's addicted to painkiller and basically playing with a broken neck.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And to me, that movie is number one because it's the movie that kind of strips away all the gloss off of the NFL and shows the lifestyle for what it can be. In a lot of ways, it does for pro football what the Commitments does for rock and roll to me.
Okay, all right, that's interesting. That's very interesting. Okay, on that note, we're gonna end the show, but we want to tell you guys we want your input as well. So we want you to go to our website 4thKi.com or email us 4thKi@yahoo.com, or you can also tweet us at 4thKi and give us your top 5 list of football movies, all-time football movies. On the next show, like Charles has said before, I was about to call you Chris. Sorry, Charles in charge. We'll go over what you guys said, and we'll have an all-time top 5 list based on what you guys said. So again, hit us up anytime you would like, and we'll be back. Until then, we are signing off. I'm Andre Miller.
Charles Clinton.